When I was about 10 years old, my dad would take me sometimes on weekends to the Boy Scout camp. My dad was the director of the Boy Scout camp, and so in the off season, he would go to the camp on weekends to check out the buildings and the maintenance and see if everything was okay. And sometimes I got to go with him. And these were really special times for me because it was just me and my dad. One time we were there at the old farmhouse that served as the camp director's cabin. And I was out messing around and I got stung by a bee on my arm. And I came running to my dad. I didn't want to cry because, men don't cry. And he could see that I was upset and he didn't know what to do. My mom always took care of these sorts of things. And so here he was with this little kid who was in tears. And he said, well, I've heard that chewing tobacco put on a bee sting will draw the poison out of it. So he didn't have any chewing tobacco, but he had pipe tobacco. He always had pipe tobacco. And so he took some pipe tobacco and he put it in his mouth and he moistened it with his spit and he put it on my bee sting. Well, I don't think the tobacco and spit made any difference in the pain level, but it sure made me feel good that my dad cared about me enough to be tender with me like that. Well, my dad was a man of his time. He was raised in a military family. He grew up in the Depression. He served in World War II, and then he raised a family and started a career. And so he was a typical man of his time. He was masculine in the ways about him. And he was a good dad. Wasn't a perfect dad. There is no such thing as a perfect dad, but he was a good dad. Not every kid is so lucky. A lot of kids, especially today, grow up without a father around, or they grow up with a father who doesn't know how to be a dad and hasn't grown up himself yet. And so many men today, young men especially, are in crisis. And a lot of men are asking, what does it mean to be a man today? Well, in days past, to be a man meant to work hard, to endure pain and hardship, to be a provider, and to have to know a craft or some kind of art. And that's what it meant to be masculine in another day. And not so much today. Those qualities aren't needed so much today, and they're not valued as much. A lot of jobs now require qualities such as cooperation, communication, collaboration, things that we think that women are especially good at. And so young men are asking, what does it mean to be a man today? Well, one answer, one very bad answer, comes from influencers in the manosphere on the internet, like Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is a person who preaches a toxic form of masculinity that denigrates women and tries to build up alpha males. And he's a terrible person. He openly says that women are inferior beings, only useful for sex and to be housekeepers and for your status symbols. And he's been arrested for rape and trafficking. But young men looking for role models are attracted to what he's saying because he's got a very clear idea of what it means to be a man. And it's a toxic form of masculinity, and it's not going anywhere. This is not good for anyone. It's not good for young men. It's not good for young women. It's not good for society. So, what does it mean to be a man today? What role models do we have for masculinity? Well, one answer to that question comes from our gospel story today, John the Baptist. John the Baptist appears in the wilderness wearing a coat of camel's hair and a leather belt wrapped around his waist. He eats honey and locusts. I mean, he's kind of a wilderness man. And he's earthy, he's gritty, he's real. He spurns comforts and luxuries. He's fearless, he's outspoken. He speaks out against injustice and hypocrisy. And so he has the best qualities of male strength and boldness. But at the same time, he's gentle in his advice to those who come to see him. People say, well, what should we do? And he says, if you have 2 coats, give one to somebody who doesn't have any. If you have food, give to somebody who doesn't have food. Tax collectors come and say, what should we do? He says, don't tax people any more than the legal requirement. The soldiers come and say, what should we do? And he says, don't extort money out of the people, but be satisfied with your wages. So, in other words, show restraint, show caring. So for John the Baptist, these are masculine values. John the Baptist knows he's not the Messiah. He says, one who is greater than I is coming after me, and I'm not worthy to untie the thong of his sandal. So John the Baptist knows humility. And for him, that's a masculine value. So to me, John the Baptist is a role model for men, even today. He shows men that you can be strong, you can endure pain, you can take on hard challenges, you can show leadership, but at the same time, you can be caring, you can be nurturing, you can show your emotions. I mean, I was raised like a lot of men in my generation. I was taught to be competitive, to be a winner, to be tough, to be stoic, stuff my emotions. And I think that probably helped me when I was younger, but that's not enough. At some point, I had to learn how to be more of a whole person. I had to learn about failure, grief, humility, how to care for people, for my family. So I had to learn to be more like John the Baptist. Another thing about John the Baptist, he was a man of God. He had a heart for God. He wasn't ashamed of showing his love for God. So many men today don't know what they believe in. They don't know what they stand for. They're sort of wishy-washy when it comes to religion. They say, well, I'm spiritual, but not religious. But what men need really is a place to stand. This is what I believe in. This is who I am. I believe in God. I believe in Christ. When a man can say that, it helps him be more of a man. Richard Rohr is a Catholic monk who has written many books and done a lot of work with young men. He had a ministry with the local prison, and so he would work with these young men who had done something stupid and gotten themselves in jail. And he saw so many men with what he called a father wound. They either didn't have a father or they had a father who was himself wounded. And he saw that these men needed a rite of passage. A lot of early cultures had some kind of rite of passage that marked the change from a young boy into being a man. And we don't really have that. And so he wrote about that and wrote a book called From Wild Man to Wise Man. And in the book, he lists 5 truths that young men need to learn. He says, Life is hard. You are not that important. Your life is not about making you happy. You are not in control. You are going to die. I mean, that kind of sounds like John the Baptist, doesn't it? It's tough. But at the same time, Father Rohr says that men should be caring and learn to embrace their softer side, their feminine side. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to care about people. It's okay to fail. That's John the Baptist too. You know, I think that every human being has a masculine side and a feminine side. And as we grow, it's important for us to be able to incorporate the other side into our being. Jesus himself was a whole person. He was a perfect example of someone who's fully integrated. He could be male and strong. He could be feminine and caring. Well, I sing in the Bremerton Chorale, and during rehearsal breaks, I get a chance to talk with some of the young guys that are in the chorale, guys who are just starting out in their careers. And I kind of feel sorry for them because I see that they have so many pressures on them. But I admire them because these are young guys who are trying to start a career, start relationships, and find out who they are in their lives. And I can see they're trying hard. They're doing good. And I wish the best for them. And I hope that in their lives, they'll embody John the Baptist and his values.